the point when you get it, then it's funny. You get
Well, but humor is the antidote to fear, and obviously he still wanted to keep the disease.
It does. Laughing actually releases chemicals, special chemicals.
Endorphins. That hearty laughter can get you very, very high.
That's true. We should try just laughing for about 30 seconds.
Did you know the government is going around to schoolyards now with their campaign? You know, if somebody comes up to you, anybody comes up to you in the schoolyard and says, "You want to hear a joke?" Just say, "My life intertwined with the social history of the counterculture, guaranteed to make you laugh out loud." Somebody told me he even laughed in a New York subway. Now that's taking a risk. And this, as my friend Tuli Kupferberg. Have you been introduced?
Yeah. Oh, hi.
Oh,
Paul.
Glad to meet you. I've followed you for a long time. You thought it was the FBI, but it was me. So here we are. I guess we're supposed to...
Your book is full of stories that, or stories about things you did, reportage that you did that created a sort of, is this true or not atmosphere, question. So I have two stories for you that I'd like you, I'm going to put you to the test now.
Okay, I'm ready.
We were talking about circumcision in the first program. Did you know that in the first century, Alexandria, the Hellenic world had sort of taken over the entire culture of the Near East, the Middle East. And Alexandria was a center of Judaism. And the Jews, well, this includes other Jews too, but the Jews of that whole region became Hellenized, and the Greek culture was as important, say, the kids were crazy about it, the way the European kids are crazy about American culture, exactly in the same way. And one of the things that the Greeks did was that they had Olympics. And in the Olympics, some of the Greek Olympics were funny, for instance, and the Roman, well, did the Romans have it? Anyway, boxing, for instance, you boxed to the death sometime. You wore iron knuckles. But anyway, they had a lot of events. They had a lot.
That's hysterical.
They had a lot of events that were in the nude, wrestling and maybe running. And
that's what Barry Diller and Ted Turner are doing right this minute.
Wrestling in the nude?
Yeah.
In the baked beans?
In mud.
And whoever wins buys Paramount from Viacom.
Someone else just came in it today. Who was it? It gets funnier and funnier. I forget.
All right, excuse me for interrupting.
No, it's okay. So when the Jewish youth got naked, people could see that they were circumcised, and people would point to their pee-pee and say, "Ha ha ha." What? So
they said we could say anything. We don't have to couch our terms.
We have to refer to you have to refer to the book for that reference. So anyway, the Jewish youth, the Jewish athlete, felt sort of very embarrassed, and an operation was invented by a Jewish doctor in Alexandria, actually, and it consisted in this: you took acid and you poured it on what was left of the foreskin, and it fulginated. It's called fulgination, and the skin would grow out, and they would look as if they were circumcised. Now, that's the first part of the story. The other part of the story is that the rabbis didn't appreciate
You mean uncircumcised, don't you?
I mean uncircumcised. I'm sorry, right.
I'm paying attention. I'm actually paying attention.
And the rabbis didn't like this, but the other part of the story is this, that circumcision at that time, this was really easily possible because circumcision at that time just consisted in pulling out the foreskin and clipping it off.
I hate when that happens.
No, but it's just a little. It's done some places too now. It's called the French cut. So there was a lot of skin allowed. So they poured it on. So then the rabbis decided they didn't like it, and they decreed that from that time on, this is only like in the 1st century A.D., circumcision has to be the entire foreskin down to where the sulcus, it's called. So if anyone gives you any religious Jewish person tells you how this goes back to Moses, that's bullshit. Also, according to the Talmud, if two sons die from circumcision, you don't have to circumcise the third son. And the Reformed Jews of Germany, for a period of about 80 years, never circumcised anyone. They would. All right, so that's the first story. The second story is much shorter. Did you know that in the Jewish temple, the second temple, it had a gold roof? and that could be seen far away. But it also had golden spikes on it. You know what for? So pigeons would not shit on it. Now, which of these stories are true and which are false?
I would say that the first story is true and the second story is false, because pigeons will shit on anything.
Yeah.
Well, you can still see those spikes in New York. No, they're both true. Okay.
Well, but did that discourage them?
I don't know. Does it work here? Does it work here? I mean, they try everything.
No, but
They didn't have DDT
but
then.
you're being anthropomorphic. I mean, we wouldn't shit on a spike, but a pigeon might, because they kind of hover above. You know, we get right on it.
Well, it's obviously it doesn't work perfectly because they keep inventing new pigeon
Droppings?
no, pigeon repellers, all kinds of nasty chemicals. So it didn't work.
There you
perfectly.
go, more stock tips. Okay, folks, get those pigeon repellent bonds right away. It's going to really stir up in the market because the spikes ain't working.
Okay, the other question I wanted to ask you about.
Oh, can I ask you a who's knock knock joke first?
Sure.
Knock knock.
Who's that?
The interrupting cow.
The interrupt.
Moo. Thank you very much. Okay, go ahead.
You remember the Chicago chapter was very interesting to me. You remember that there were, I think there were 16 or 20 different federal, all kinds of government agencies there. There were federal, state, there was the Army, Navy, probably the
National Guard, local police.
FBI, Naval Intelligence. They were unbelievable numbers of people that were there. So my theory about the alleged hashish oil that was supposedly handed out was that it was PCP. That's what I had heard. Now, in your book, you mentioned this French mad scientist.
No, he was an American, but he was in Paris at the time.
Now, you said the cigarettes, for instance, were sprayed. Were you there when this happened?
I interviewed the guy.
Yeah. Do you know his name and so on?
Yeah.
How do you know he was not an agent?
I trusted him. I just
see.
go by my instincts.
And
I got to know him.
did you ever hear the other rumor that PCP, that it was PCP and not hash oil?
No, I was too stoned on hash oil to hear that rumor.
All right. Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. So, what was the book that you wrote on about the thugs? What is it? Totally fiction or totally nonfiction?
Wouldn't you like to know? Yeah, it's a mixture of
well,
both.
do you use?
No, it's a mixture of both.
Do you make up names of
Yeah.
people?
Mm-hmm. But it's
Will
not
they be
too-
able to tell, like everybody who read Jack Kerouac knew
Yeah, right.
who was Neil Cassidy?
Yeah, I think, well, it depends.
So-
Some of the minor characters.
So people will be able to tell that the
major
character
yeah.
Ed Manders is really Ed Sanders, and
Well,
and Tuli Kupferberg is yourself.
Something like that. That's true. Yeah.
Did you know that Ken Weaver, or as you say in your book, Ken Deaver, became a born-again Christian?
Yeah, I know.
And this is a guy, he's like a tough biker who picked his teeth with a Bowie knife. And I spoke to him last time I was in Arizona, and I asked him about
When was that?
converting several years ago.
Uh-huh.
And he said, Jesus Woikes.
You said that?
Yeah, just like that.
All others pay cash.
Yeah.
But Moses invests.
Yes. You know, that just reminded me, in the book there's a chapter, as you know, called My Acid Trip with Groucho Marx. And Los Angeles Magazine ran an excerpt from that. And on the cover, they said, Groucho, the secret void was acid, spelled W-O-I-D. So I met a guy, he must have been about 20 years old, and he says, I really enjoyed that thing, but just tell me one thing, I don't understand, what's a secret void? He had never seen the original You Bet Your Life, and he didn't know Groucho's New York accent, so he thought a secret void was some kind of mystical ceremony. You know, hey, mister, can I go to the secret void with you? I'll bring my own candles.
Well, I don't think I ever. We got television late in my environment. When did you start watching? How old were you? Remember?
Oh, I don't know, because I think they were with it. I don't remember the original ones from the reruns.
Yeah, but
So-
I mean, when did TV? You grew up in Queens, right?
Right.
Did you have TV in your house?
Yeah.
At
Started.
what
Trying to speak
Did you have
About-
it
1950 or so, I think we got it.
Mm-hmm. And how old were you then?
1950, I was 18.
Oh. Yeah, well, I remember seeing it when I was 25 or older. Yeah.
25.
Or older.
First time.
I had it on all the time from like 5 years old on.
TV or you bet
TV
your
was
life?
never turned off.
Oh, really?
Really?
So,
And did your parents let you watch everything?
Yeah. But there wasn't anything really on. No, that was great. Oh, it was the golden age. It was the best television.
What city was that?
Queens.
well, see, they didn't have then Beavis and Butthead setting fire to the place, so, you know, it didn't, did it affect you? You don't know how it
Oh, it
affected
affected me deeply, tremendously.
It probably led directly to this program.
Absolutely. I spent my whole life just for this, just to have a television show so I could have revenge against the most of it. This is basically a revenge type of operation here.
Well, you're the other side of that character on the HBO show Dream On, who was babysat from babyhood to adulthood on TV. And,
I didn't say I was an adult.
Huh? What, are you an adulterer?
That's irrelevant.
That's all right.
Please tell us your Beavis and Butthead treatment for Hollywood.
Oh, yes. You know, I have cast Beavis and Butthead as the Menendez brothers. I think they'll be really, hey, you want to kill Mom and Dad? I think that sucks. No, we could say we were sexually molested. Okay, that's cool. So, you know, but what I'm really afraid of is that when that verdict comes through, as we speak now, the trial is in progress, if those brothers get convicted, there's going to be rich white boys rioting all over Beverly Hills. You know, give me a shopping bag. I want to go to Rodeo Drive right now.
This would be a case of prophylactic justice.
Prophylactic justice.
Yeah.
Justice.
So, like, you know, it's not because they necessarily deserve to get the electric chair or not, but it will set an example.
Prophylactic justice. I see. Okay. You're the host. Say anything.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, well, I was told
I'm
by
going to
a...
have an imitation in a minute.
Which is what? Having a nervous breakdown? Becoming a manic depressive for the rest of your life, and then going on Howard Stern and boasting about it? Taking Prozac through a Pez dispenser? Is that what you mean?
With a goopy head, an actual registered trademark goopy head. You know, I had William Kunstler on my show recently, and he talked a lot about high colonic enemas and how it might be good for the Mets. And
now we have, well, it's not a regular enema. A colonic is sort of an enema with an ideology. And in Kunstler's case, a left-wing ideology.
Kunstler's father was a proctologist.
Is that right?
Yeah, and he...
Is that another true or false question?
Yeah, no, actually it's true, I'll tell you right. And his father told him that those assholes are sending you through college, through law school.
Oh, my.
No, that's true.
Oh, yeah. Just because you say it's true, you know, I mean, Jonathan Swift...
No, ask Bill. Call him up.
And ask him if asshole sent him through college?
Yeah.
He might think I'm talking about ROTC.
But it's talking about the death penalty, if we could get serious for a year.
Right.
How did that come up? Right.
Yeah, for the boys.
Only assholes should get it.
No, well, I'm opposed to punishment of any kind, but I'm
How about
so
spanking?
saintly.
How about
I'm so
spanking a
saintly.
27-year-old woman?
Only if it's voluntary.
Right. Okay. No, we're in.
We
It's
just discussed that
mandatory.
in your book.
It's beyond voluntary.
But, you know, and it can't
mandatory.
inflict any kind of injury. Anyway, this lawyer whom I respect, I don't know, it might have been Kunstler, he said that no matter how wacky or crazy a murderer appears to be, if the public outrage is enough, the insanity defense is never permitted.
I've seen that. I've seen that in cases, where somebody was, drank his victim's blood and so forth.
Right.
But it was right after the Dan White trial when he got away with that temporary insanity defense, and
It
so.
was the sanity clause.
Well, no one was outraged.
No,
at
is it
that.
Christmas already?
No, the general
Ho.
community wasn't that outraged by that. Just the gay community was. That's why he got such a light sentence.
But he killed himself anyway, so it had a happy ending.
I always wanted to know more about your experiences in that courtroom when you had this sort of combination Disney vision of all the characters and.
Oh, this was
very, very profound vision.
This was during the conspiracy trial in 1969 and 70. They were charged. It was 8 originally it was 20. I was one of them, but it was narrowed down to 8 because the grand jury in Chicago wouldn't have such a wholesale indictment. And it was 8, and then Bobby Seale wanted his lawyer was sick, and they were going to have a separate trial, and they tied and bound him in a chair during part of the trial. It was a shocking thing to see on TV. You saw the charcoal images of it because they weren't allowed to have a camera in the courtroom then. And so the Chicago 7 were charged with crossing state lines in order to incite a riot. And I was a witness in the case. And I decided to take LSD before I testified.
Good move.
Call me a sentimental fool. But, yes, maybe that's why the title Confessions of a Raving Unconfined Nut fits. That's me, folks. Right, that complete story is in there now. I'm just paraphrasing it. But anyway, I decided to take it for a reason. A, because I knew that if I ate a big meal and then took LSD, 300 micrograms of Owsley White Lightning, if there's any brand name fans out there. So
Owsley White Lightning!
But public access forbids me from giving the price.
That's an honorable example and a scholar.
But as long as it's not numbers, the price was your mind. Cheap. Yeah, cheap at any price. I have half a mind to. No, okay. So let me give you a piece of my mind. Oops, there's nothing left.
Yeah, I can take care of that. I can fix that.
I wonder what he's going to get.
I have a brain transplant machine over here.
A brain transplant
Very
machine.
useful for this type of thing.
Right.
So
How did you know I needed one?
I don't know. Well, it's not so much what you need, it's what I need. Because in my other incantations as Igor, I perform this type of thing. I don't know if this will fit. It's sort of a one-size-fits-all. I don't know. Is that comfortable?
And
Is it working?
Now can I play the piano again?
Did you used to be able to?
No.
It's not going to work.
Damn.
All right. So I guess, I don't know, I could plug this in and...
I don't know.
Holy
I don't know why, Dave, but I seem to have forgotten the question.
Oh.
No, I mean, will this help me remember?
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yes, right.
Well, maybe you just have to read the book.
Oh, yes, right. You know, it's very difficult to hold an intellectual conversation this way, but I'll try. Well, so I took the LSD because I wanted to throw up in court, and that would be my theatrical statement.
You couldn't just eat some McDonald's or something like that before going in?
No, but I had LSD timed.
I see.
You know, I
you had it timed.
take it 20 minutes after a big meal, and you would throw up. So that would be my theatrical statement on the trial, and. But I also wouldn't have to memorize a bunch of names and dates that way and places. It's like a history exam. So, you know, I would just plan, you know, the prosecutor would say, now, where did this meeting take place of the yippies? And I would go, bleh. And they couldn't charge me with contempt of court because they didn't know that I had done it on purpose. So, you know, the judge would just say, bailiff, get him out of here. And I'd just get one good projectile at the judge's podium.
Coming at you. Like an eruption.
And once again, you know, they wouldn't see a photograph of this, but the court artist would get this, you know, in green and gold charcoal for the 11 o'clock news. So, so that was my fantasy of how it would happen.
Didn't go that way.
Well, no, I was in the waiting room. And 20 minutes after I took the acid, and everything is just beginning to swirl around in day-glow colors and pastels, and the furniture is kind of, just kind of vibrating gently. And then suddenly it turns into a Looney Tunes cartoon. And this was at the precise moment that I was brought into the courtroom by Tom Hayden and Jerry Rubin, or as I perceived them, Tom and Jerry. And so I proceeded to testify. Some people thought it was irresponsible, mainly the defendants. But, you know.
So you caught a little flack, you know.
Yeah.
And, let's see. It was, the judge looked like Elmer Fudd.
Wait, I feel like
right?
I'm being channeled through
The
this
judge.
by Dr. Ruth.
Okay. I don't know. Have you had, is your
No.
brain, is it coming back to you?
As long as you're coming back, as long as you wear a condom, yes. Oh, don't worry, a premature ejaculation, don't worry. Another one will come along soon, just like a bus. Oh, okay, I'm okay now. Boy, this thing is really good.
Is it working? Is it working? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Paul Krassner, publisher and Zen Bastard. And if you want to know why that's the case and why you shouldn't be upset about it, you just have to read Confessions of a Raving Unconfined Nut.
And send me your sexual questions. I will masturbate on them.
Can you say Zen on public access?
Now and then.
Now, you gotta sneak it in. You gotta sneak
Bada
it in.
boom, bada boom.
Yes, yes. Let's see.
Can I have this tape? I want to use it for my resume.
You like it? Yeah, you can make a reel.
Or maybe on those dating services.
That's right.
Looking for the perfect mate. You know, maybe we have something in common. I can't imagine what.
Send it to Dr. Ruth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Well,
she
you know,
needs a
from reading
fellow,
this
I think.
book, it never seems like, you know, it seems like you have had a very interesting and rich sex life with lots of interesting people. A nun?
Oh, but no, this
With
was
a nun
no. She was this was Margot St. James. She was wearing a nun's costume,
Just dressed up like a nun.
but she wasn't really a nun. Yeah, exactly. Acting like I'm not really.
Then she wasn't a
And she
nun.
had a button underneath her habit and it was a good habit, and it said chastity is its own punishment. So, just to keep herself pure.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Scientology. You know, didn't they just recently win a case that they can be treated like tax exempt as though they're a religion?
I thought
Isn't
they
that
won
what
that
just
long
happened?
ago, and I thought it was being challenged.
Well, I think that they finally won it. They got it. They're not a religion, but they got tax exemption.
How can that be? It's
I don't know how that can be. That's really weird. But these people
well,
are
let's
fierce.
call Ralph Nader right now.
Right, exactly. But it's some.
Well, the
interesting
Museum of
things.
Modern Art is not a religion, and they get taxed.
Yeah, but it's
Maybe
something
they
to
are a
do with-
religion.
I've seen some people there. It is a religion. Definitely.
Yeah. So who's better company on acid, Groucho or Ed McMahon?
I didn't consider. I took acid with Groucho. I took acid with when I was on the Tonight Show, not with Johnny Carson. Orson Bean was the guest host, and I didn't think of Ed McMahon. But Ed McMahon didn't take it.
No, he didn't take it. No.
So, but when I looked at him, his face was all melting in these rainbow colors, and I had to really get my center of reality to turn away from him and indulge in spectator conversation with the host instead of staring at the rainbow colors of Ed McMahon's face.
But Groucho didn't look like that.
Oh, Groucho was sort of, he was sort of like a mosaic. You know, his glasses kept going around, things like that. He had a cigar on which he was chewing, not smoking. And his cigar, it looked like a kind of satellite. I saw little missiles all around it. Not missiles, but kind of rockets. But that's purely subjective. I don't want to.
You can't tell the difference at a certain point between the subjective and the.
No, I like to know that this is happening because I'm tripping and not because I don't know what I'm perceiving.
Right.
You know, and then you can have, you know.
You
So
can forget that sometimes.
If a dragon comes into the room, you know, you can play chess or something. You don't have to worry.
Right.
I never could play chess, but now with this
I can play chess.
and the piano at the same time, checkmate.
And with one foot, you can be operating a word processor and getting out your next novel.
And with the other foot, I can have it up William Kunstler's asshole.
Yes. Clean, clean, clean. And you have talked to Abby Hoffman on a ballpoint pen. I've done research. I really found this to be a good
Right,
read.
that's more than
A
the
good
angels
read.
can fit on the head of a pin.
Right, a good read.
No, this was one time when I really was nuts. I mean, this is sanity, so I guess it's all relative, isn't it? But one time when I went nuts, when I was investigating the Manson case and publishing conspiracy researcher Mae Brussel on the connection between Watergate and the JFK assassination, while the mainstream press was still calling it a third-rate burglary and a caper. And I just went nuts from information overload and just had a paranoid freak out. And during this, I was convinced that the guy sitting in front of me on the bus was a CIA agent, because when I got on the bus, he turned his ring around to signal his fellow agent outside that I had gotten on the bus. I mean, that was my paranoia. And so I got my ballpoint pen out and started made believe. I didn't really believe I was calling out. I was just trying to let this CIA guy know that I was on to him.
Right.
So I'm going, Paul Krassner, calling Abby Hoffman, Paul Krassner, calling Abby Hoffman. And later on I told Abby about this, and he said, oh yeah, I got the message, but it was a collect call, I couldn't take it. So, yeah, you do straight. But see, it's hard to know where paranoia ends and where reality ends and paranoia begins. I was in that paranoid psychotic stage for a few weeks. I dropped one girlfriend because she was too heavy. No, that's not it. This brain. It also, it's Henny Youngman is being. Take my mother-in-law, please. So I broke off with a girlfriend because I just lost my ability to trust, and I got suspicious of her. And then I got involved with a new girlfriend, and I asked her if her cat's flea collar had a microphone in it. You know, now she just thought I was joking. Oh, Paul, you're so funny, ha ha ha. And I really meant it. 23 years later, I saw an article by Harrison Salisbury saying that the CIA had developed a cat flea collar that had a microphone in it. So, you know, paranoia or prophecy.
But you're much better now.
At what?
Than you were at that time. You were very paranoid at that time. And you were nervous.
Oh, yeah, look at me now. I'm completely relaxed.
The brain transplant did it.
Can you believe this is the cure?
It can happen.
It just happened.
Hey, Paul,
right here.
have you visited cyberspace? Have you experienced virtual reality?
Oh, yeah, in fact, I met my new guru there. It's the New Age hero who can communicate with all those cyberpunks. It was C.D. Ramdas. Yes, just heroic. No, you know, and then do you get a virtual reality check to make sure that, because all my reality checks have bounced. So, no, I guess that would interest. It always seems sort of elitist, though. You know, I don't see the Crips and the Bloods going to have a virtual reality experience. But maybe they could. Maybe if we can convince them to have drive-by shootings with virtual reality, it would save a few lives. Okay, David Dinkins, are you listening?
Gang war video games.
Giuliani, are you listening?
Well, public access is elitist, too. You have to pay for it.
Right.
That should be one of our demands, free public access.
Well, there's a studio opening up, but this is another issue. And we're coming to the close of yet another stimulus.